Welcome to the Port Charles Update with your hosts, Mish and Mel.
Hey Mel,
Hello.
what is up?
Oh
Actually,
my
I know
God.
what's up, so
Exactly. Why don't you tell the story about our week and our highlight
okay.
together?
So I just don't even think we can even go into talking about our weeks whatsoever, especially not when Maurice Bernard retweets you. I really don't think
Yeah,
it matters what happened in our week.
that's what I was gonna say. Nothing else matters at this point in
No,
time.
like it was just ridiculous. I mean, we didn't like this is week 9 for us. This was something we just decided to do for fun. And I think it's just so like all these extra things like the retweets or like the tweets from or even just the replies and comments from the people on the show have been like extraordinary bonuses, but this was epic. Like I was speechless. You because like I mean you can say it, but you're the one who called me to tell me.
Well, yeah, because usually, I always check in, my notifications are on, I check Instagram, I check, Facebook and Twitter, but my phone was just like on fire, just kept buzzing. So I get out of the shower, I pick up my phone. And then I saw Maurice's retweet and I saw the check mark, but I'm like, you know what? What if this is like a copycat account? Like, this can't be real. This is insane. I need to call you. So then I called you, freaking out. Like, can you just tell me I'm not losing my mind today?
Well, yeah, because you called me and you were all in a huff, and I literally I had my laptop open. I literally just tweeted a photo from Thursday's episode with Sunny, Jason, Sam, and Spinelli just all together. And I had tweeted that photo. It's on our Instagram, Facebook, all of that. We're mostly on Instagram though. And I posted it literally 2 seconds later. Honestly, I almost deleted it
Oh my
because
God. Thank God.
I know because I messed up Kelly Monaco's handle, but I was like, whatever, it's no big deal, a mistake, just I'll leave it. And I noticed it was retweeted, but I didn't know who because I don't really get or understand Twitter too much. But man, it was it was so amazing. I feel like I'm still on a high from that. So that was just super super exciting for us. And I'm gonna ask you this, Mel. What's our Twitter handle for anybody actually
You know,
listening?
I can find it for you. I don't know by
I
heart, but
think it's the I think well, I mean, I
get our
think it's
Twitter handle. Hold on one second. It is at the PC update.
oh, I would have gotten it wrong. So people can look up that, or you can just go on Maurice Bernard's page because from the last I checked, he hasn't even updated his Twitter page since he retweeted us, which was kind of amazing that it just sat there for hours for like the whole day, just our tweet at the top of his page, which was like the coolest thing ever. Makes me feel like we have nothing left to do.
I know we can retire. We're done. We can close the
Yeah.
show. We've made it.
Well, with that being said, we might as well just get into week 9. So this is huge, and the Oscar storyline is trickling down into all kind of different little sub storylines. But let's get into Oscar. I think the biggest thing this week was him telling his parents about what his plans are, and basically that he's suing them. Like, what the hell?
Right. That was so like Oscar, like he was being all angry teenager and I don't want to talk to anybody. But this was like a whole different side where he just
Yep.
kind of like, I don't, for lack of a better term, he like, grabbed his cojones and said, like, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to say to my parents, like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to face this head on, just taking that stance of like, I'm not like them. I'm not going to hide anything. But I was still like, oh my God, really? Oh my God. I was cringing at him when he was saying it. I'm like, oh my God, how can you say this to your parents?
But he seemed really thrilled with himself, which was so strange because for a while we could kind of sympathize with him and understand his anger. I'd be like, okay, yeah, you don't know. But honestly, I'm so tired of hearing his crap. Like, I never saw myself feeling this way. When the storyline was first introduced, it was mostly sadness. You're thinking, I'm so sad for him. This is awful. His parents lied. But I really never thought we would get to a point in the storyline where I'm just sort of like a little annoyed with him and
Oh,
feeling like, what are you doing? Like, this is completely insane. Like, I really didn't know the storyline would have kind of pulled out such various emotions because I really thought it was just going to be a sad storyline and that would be that. I mean, I didn't see the court case coming, and now with the court case, it adds a complete other level of complexity, and I think it draws out so many different emotions when you're watching it. But honestly, it went from him going, I want to say, but a say in what? You want to say in your medical decisions, but you haven't sat down with the doctors to go over things in depth. Because when people are asking him questions about his medical health, he can't answer. When Cameron or somebody was bugging him, like, how much time do you have left? I don't know.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, okay, he has anger, he has frustration, he's not getting a say, but he's like, and then I think at some point his parents said like, we need to talk about this. Like we have. It's like, no, no, you didn't. You got angry and you stormed off, and you kept getting increasingly more and more upset, and you didn't actually sit down and talk and figure out what is going on and how severe this is and how long you have. Like you just ran. So there was no talking. There was no conversation, and now you're being basically a little jerk. Like,
Well, he was, I mean, I almost understood. Like, so when he first had approached Alexis, he had said, could you imagine my parents living with the fact that they made me do this trial and then I die? So for a split second, I was like, oh, okay, so you're not being thoughtless. You're coming at this from, a wide perspective. You are thinking about your parents, but I feel like that was all wiped away when you're smirking at them. You're hurting them
yeah.
deeply, and then you're smirking at them like, look, I'm winning. And I'm just like, you've clearly lost sight as to what you're doing. And I mean, Alexis does have a point. I think all this is really doing is making him feel powerful again, like getting his power back, but ultimately he's really disconnecting from the reality of his situation.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. He is like living in a completely different world.
I enjoy the slap. I think
Oh, it was
when Kim slapped
amazing.
Alexis, I enjoyed that. But I mean, what did you expect though? What did you expect? And the fact that Alexis can so calmly and rationally explain, the rights of Oscar, I'm just like, really? This from the woman who barged in at Christina's job and was trying to control that? This from the person who's constantly making comments and wanting to make sure that Sam doesn't end up back with Jason? Really? This person who doesn't
I
understand this concept and is constantly trying to control her own kids is sitting there rationally explaining to Oscar's mother the rights her son has.
and especially the severity of the situation. Yeah, Christina's a little bit lost. She doesn't know what she's going to do. She's also like 25.
Like, who
Sam is
cares?
exactly. Sam is a grown ass woman. If she wants to decide to be with that man, great. That is her choice. She has a child with him. Those are her choices. This kid is like 17 or 16 or however
He's
old he
16.
is, trying to decide what he wants to do. Like it just,
But he's
you're right. It's that
uninformed.
confidence. Exactly. And it's
He's
like,
uninformed.
and the fact is, like, I know she keeps saying, like, I don't want him to go to Scott and blah, blah, blah. But at the same token, she's also feeding into her own situation and kind of
What
mirroring
situation?
that back to him. Like her when she was 16 and her parents made her give
Oh,
away.
right.
Yeah. Like I feel like she's feeding into that and using that as opposed to logically looking at it and saying, "Hey, do you even know like what your timeline is? Do you know like how this can help you or like what the, like yes, you think it can kill you, but do you actually know what the procedure entails?" Like none
I
of those questions are happening.
I agree. She's totally dropped the ball on those specific questions. But part of me did understand in a way when she was saying, she's basically hoping this process gives him enough power to stabilize him so that he himself can sort of come to a logical decision on his own. I love how she's unable to kind of express that explicitly to Kim, maybe to help make her feel better because it's all confidential, but she has no problem going over this in detail with Julian after she tells him, I can't discuss a client's case. And then she proceeded to go over in detail her thoughts on Oscar's case with
I
Julian.
know. I know. I was like, come on, like I know her and Julian have this connection, and Sam, basically pointed out and said like he's the only one that has any type of influence in her life. But it's like, hey, dude, like confidentiality, like I don't know.
But did you see her reaction to that though? When Julian was like, well, Sam basically said to Kim that maybe I would have influence over you. And then she reacted kind of, she really thinks you have that kind of influence. Why is that offensive? You believe that Sam, when it comes to Jason, can't make up her own mind and that somehow she's under a spell. This is so ridiculous. Like the hypocrisy is like insane. And I definitely get Carly's frustration with her at
Oh my
times.
God. Seriously.
Because Carly, calls them out. She calls out Elizabeth for certain things that I kind of eventually come to see later, where I see actual evidence of certain behaviors. And I mean, she's called Alexis a hypocrite a billions of times, and it's like I'm kind of starting to see it. Like with all these situations, the closer you look, you're just like, wow, this is just spectacular to watch.
It really is. Like, honestly, like she drives me crazy. She really is like next level with her ideals and how people should live their lives and how she should be involved, but yet like project all that other stuff too.
Yeah, I mean, I loved her. I loved Diane too, sort of calling her on stuff. I mean, I like the professionalism and two strong women just going at it, being on two different sides of the situation. But I thought it was kind of funny how Diane was saying, hey, I'm the one who doesn't have kids and I'm advocating for these parents. I don't know how that's going to go. I think it's just going to be really brutal to watch. One other thing about that whole situation before everything came out about him suing, this really, really bothered me, an interaction between Kim and Drew. And I feel she apologized to him a tad too freaking late. So Drew is there to meet Oscar because Oscar
Oh,
agreed to meet
yeah.
with him. She has
Mhm.
continuously made decisions that have negatively impacted Drew's relationship with Oscar. He didn't agree with keeping it a secret, but he did. And at the end of the day, in front of Oscar, he always maintains a united front and he always backs Kim as
Yes.
parents. And he's trying to say, this might look like an ambush. And she's like, well, this is what I want to do. I've never missed his birthday. And I get it. I totally get it. This is probably so heartbreaking for her that she sort of lost this son that she's been BFFs with for years. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, you told everybody that you were prepared to deal with the consequences of hiding this from Oscar. That you would take whatever consequence, whatever fury he had to give him just a sense of normalcy. So now it's time to pay the toll, which means
Oh,
that he's mad at you and you should have let at least Oscar have lunch with Drew because at least he'll have connection to one parent instead of no one at all. And
well
she took that
said.
from him. She took that from Drew, and I was just so angry because he sits back and kind of by default lets Kim make all the choices because she parented him longer, which I personally don't think is fair.
Oh, I agree. Like I felt really bad for him because Drew was obviously looking to, he's been having all these conversations about like how does he continue this relationship? How does he continue to foster this relationship? What kind of relationship has he already built with him? Like he's doubting all of these moments that he's had with him and how far they've come. And then it all kind of got squashed in that moment when there
Well,
was like a little tiny bit of hope there.
you're right, because then with his mom making him upset, Oscar then referred to Drew not as his dad, but as Drew. Like he said
Oh,
something
that
really awful.
broke my
I
heart when he said that. It was very noticeable.
Because for real, Oscar, what reason do you have to come down on Drew? And it's almost like he was having fun hurting them, which is a side of Oscar we've never seen before.
Good point.
Like
Good point. It's so
Cam
true.
is coming
He
off like
looked
a Boy
almost
Scout.
yes, like Oscar did look a little evil in his tone, in his
Yeah.
mannerisms, like his it's like the bad boy attitude kind of thing.
It's more than the bad boy
Yeah.
attitude, I find. It's not even like bad boy. It's just really rotten at this point. It's really bratty.
True. True.
So I'm kind of, I hate to take sides, but currently I'm very much team Cameron.
Oh God, me too.
So so now, okay. So for weeks now, Oscar has this plan and he's been pushing Joss away and he's been doing it kind of without showing us the audience that it's tearing him up in any way. Because all we've seen through every episode is him coming up with a new way to kind of get his point across to Jocelyn. And we haven't really seen him like actually feel bad about it until recently. So this week, he has the nerve after Cam lets him secretly spend the night
Yeah.
to then go, "Hey, I don't you can't be spending time with her. I don't want you to." And I was just like, "Really? Really? It just wasn't really nice." And it was the first time you see him giving a crap about Jocelyn and what she does. And I'm just like, now you care? It's a bit too late. Didn't you not think this through? Obviously not. He's a teenager, but
Exactly.
this is, well, like mother, like son, but this is the consequence of the choice you made.
It really is. And poor Cameron, just like, what do you want from my life? Like he's been friends with Joss since he's a kid. And then there's this dude trying to tell him, like, you help me, you do everything I need you to do, but you don't get to help your friend, your actual friend. Like,
No,
how
and
does
he
that
is
work?
And he is trying to help Joss, his friend, as much as he can. Like he's saying no to her, but then decides, hey, okay, we could fake dating because this is what she wants to do. But he's in a crappy position because at the end of the day, he's coming into this new bond with Joss, because they are gonna bond over pretending to be boyfriend and girlfriend, and
Yeah.
he's coming into it with Oscar's secrets, and he's going to pay for it. And ultimately, it was like on Instagram, Dimitra Zanatekos pointed that out. She's like, once the truth is out, Cameron is going to get hurt, and I think it's really unfortunate because he's in a lose lose right now.
Oh, so badly. Like he's gonna lose his friend that he's known the longest. We don't know what's gonna happen with Oscar. It's gonna be really, really difficult. And then who's gonna be there for Cameron?
No one. He's going to be out in the cold. And I think it, like, just like Oscar, I mean, I think he's going to survive this whole thing. But the reality is, the only solution to this is time. And we just don't know how much time he has left. And the same thing when the truth comes out and then Jocelyn finds out that Cameron was a part of all of this. You need time, and she's going to need explanation, and she's going to need to understand. But she's most likely not going to want to hear it. And the worst part is that Joss has brought up several times that she's trying to overcome what Nell did to her. She's trying to overcome the fact that somebody manipulated her, that she, you know, didn't really trust her gut, and she's trying to find her voice. And Cameron and Oscar have messed with it, are messing
Oh,
with it.
so true. She's not gonna want anything to do with either of them, quite frankly.
Honestly, I think she might, I think Oscar might get a free pass.
You think so? I think she's gonna give him a hard time. Like I think that because in the end, like if the truth actually comes out, not the fact that he's sick, but the fact that he roped Cameron in. I know Cameron could have left at any point in time, but I think like it's a part of him who's trying to do something good. And then you have Oscar, who's basically like it's almost like a little bit of a blackmail, but not really. Like it's like a very light level of you have to do this for whatever reason because it's going to benefit Joss in the end. So the everybody's trying to protect Joss, but in the end, all they're doing is hurting her
Well,
implicitly and then leaving her alone.
Cameron does know her better, and he has spoken up and said, "You think Jocelyn, isn't strong enough to handle this, but she is." And so he seems to know that she's tough enough to really deal with this. It's Oscar. Oscar, I mean, personally, I hope she's equally mad, but I really do think she's gonna, let Oscar off. She's gonna be more. I think what's gonna happen is that she might be more willing to hear him out as opposed to Cameron right away. And with because she was in a relationship with him, and with Oscar, I think the thing that he did, which is the worst, I don't know if she's gonna see it, but it's the fact that he took away that choice from her.
Exactly. And that's why I think she's going to be upset. Like, the fact is, he lied to her. He didn't believe who she is. Like, if she's anything like Carly, a person like that who's willing to lie about having another girlfriend, who pushes her away, who hurts her even more on the day of her brother's like anniversary of death. Like, I don't know. I think like she's really going to have a hard time with that.
I don't know. Okay, this is kind of outside of this, but I saw an old picture of Carly, well, the
Hmm.
actress, and she looks so much like Joss. Like, it's just crazy. And I've said it before that Joss really resembles Carly, and like, physically, but even as an actress, I find her mannerisms and her attitude, it's coming out more and more. And it's going to be really cool to see because even though they're teenagers, Joss does have that Carly in her. So I think it's going to be really epic when it all sort of blows up. And honestly, when you're going to court, like, exactly how are they going to be able to hide this?
Exactly. Imagine she finds out when they go to court. Like, she's going to lose her mind.
Yeah, I mean, poor thing. It's a lot. Okay, the one thing I was like finally a little happy about was okay. So when Drew had to tell my gosh, why am I drawing a blank? Curtis that he couldn't be his best man,
Yeah.
and then Curtis was like, just tell me, like, just
I
tell
know,
me.
right? Like your
And
best friend.
I was just really happy because I'm like, you know what? Kim and Drew are going like they're going through so much, and I get it. They're trying to do whatever they can to respect Oscar, but it's not even that. They're basically trying to make up for having lied ultimately. But you know
Yeah.
what? You can't keep keeping this a secret. You can't keep it to yourselves. Like, I was so happy that Drew just was like, "No, I'm going to tell you what happened," and Curtis was like, "Okay, I'm a grown up. I'm not going to tell anyone else what's going on." But I think they need that. They need their support. Otherwise, how are they going to survive this situation? And I think it's ridiculous that Drew had the common sense to be like, you're right, Curtis, let me just tell you, like, I really need the support. And then Kim is keeping this from her partner.
That's a really good
Anyway.
point because I'm really happy because like even though Franco and Drew spoke about it, Franco and Drew it's a new thing where Curtis is like his buddy, his actual real friend, so he gets to tell somebody. Like yeah, I still don't understand this hang up with Cam. Like you obviously love him. You're in a relationship. You know how much he cares for your son. Like what is the hang up?
Yeah. So, anyways, I was just glad that I mean, it's not that I'm saying you shouldn't respect your child's privacy, but it's just, honestly, it was just getting into a point where if keeping this to yourself is hurting your well being, then I think you should talk about it because you guys you're adults. And I think you guys would be able to keep it under wraps and still protect Oscar.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, I don't know. What do you think about Cam's feelings toward his mom? Because obviously Cam knows the truth. He knows his mother knows. He's sort of toying with it a little bit. I don't know what I
Yeah.
don't know if that he wants to put his mom on the spot. I don't know if he just wants her to be honest with him. But what did you think about what he said to her? Because he kind of feels like she cares about everyone else but him. I don't know.
I know. That's why, like, I wasn't sure if it was like a fishing, like him fishing to say, like, hey, are you going to tell me the truth? Or if he wanted to know if his mom worries about him because there's this whole other story with like Aiden and Elizabeth knowing her children so well and always being there. But it's like, how much do you know about what's going on in their lives? Like, really?
I
And
know
Cameron,
it's looking kind of
like,
bad. It's looking kind of
and
bad.
Cameron is like, he's a teenager, but he still needs his parental support. And you're just like, all you ever ask about is like those other two.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think Elizabeth has really good intentions, and I don't think she's a crappy mom, but it is kind of a little bit
Oh.
comedic when they keep pointing out how much she doesn't know. And I think it's kind of cool because all these little points do speak to her pattern and her history in a way, which I think is really, really cool, which is the fact that this is a soap opera and there is this much history that goes into the character. So with Cam, I think in the moment, yeah, he was testing his mom, but I do think a separate and valid point was you're constantly asking about Oscar and you're concerned about Joss. And how much do you really ask questions that are poignant to Cam, that are important to him? Because even with the stealing, she was just convinced that he was influenced. She didn't even ask, like, what brought you to do that? She didn't try to understand him back
That's
then. And I
a very
find
good
even
point.
now with Joss, she's not even asking, like, so you have feelings for her? Like, she didn't really go into how he felt about anything. So I can see from his perspective why it feels that everyone else's feelings might matter more. But I thought it was really sweet of him. Like, that's the thing. Cam surprises you.
He
You never know
really
what to
does.
think about him. And then he just comes back down the stairs and says, I love you, mom. It's like, wow. Like,
I know,
Cam is
but
winning me over.
he really is. Like I said, like I feel kind of torn sometimes, but then he does exactly those things, but which makes him a really great actor. You know what I mean? Like he's able
Mm-hmm.
to really embody that teenage role and how like they're so emotional and so roller coaster and selfish,
That
but
is so
well
true.
intentioned and like he does an amazing job.
Oh my, okay, yeah. So I kind of, well, we forgot to say this too. So Cam actually retweeted us. We actually tweeted about, um, we did a post actually this week about, Cam and Oscar. And so yeah, so Cam himself actually thanked us for the support because he's relatively new. He's new to the show, but I don't know, he might be new to acting altogether. I don't know, but anyways, it's true. Yes, we support you and Team Cam.
Definitely Team Cam, and it's funny because I looked on his Twitter account just to see like his, he is new and all of that. So he only put his first tweet like back in August. So he's like brand new to
Oh, so
Twitter.
he's yeah, new to Twitter. Okay, so more more about Cam and Joss. So I completely loved and enjoyed their playing around and I loved Carly watching them be happy. Okay? One.
Yeah.
And so you remember a few weeks ago, so basically Carly shows up to Elizabeth's house this week, and I love how she's like, "Did Franco give you my message?" Because you remember it was quite hostile between
Yes.
her and Franco at the community center, and I love how like she just really has no shame. She's like, "Did he give it to you?" And I remember when that came out, I was thinking, "Wow, that's an interesting concern that Carly had." That she thinks that Elizabeth might take out her animosity on Joss. I thought that way back then. So then she comes back and this point is being brought up again. And so once again, Elizabeth is in the dark. She's like, oh, they're hanging out. Oh, they seem
I
close.
know. I was
Oh, they're
like, oh
hanging
my
out at
God,
your
she's the
house.
best.
And I love, how Carly was just like, I support them being together. But the thing is, what I love about Carly is that she owned her daughter's behavior, and she says, like, and she came back to her because she didn't know at the time that Joss shoplifted or anything like that, when Elizabeth had originally confronted her like months ago saying, hey, Cam stole and was with your daughter. So already Elizabeth was like, your daughter is a bad influence. So I can kind of see now I can kind of understand why Carly thinks that, her animosity toward Carly might rub off on Joss. So then she's telling her, I'm cool with your kid and I can be respectful and I'm fine if they're together or more than friends, basically. And Joss was stealing when I was in Ferncliff, but she's not anymore. So Elizabeth goes, I really like Joss and I wouldn't do that. But then she kind of scoffed at Joss when Carly mentioned the stealing. And I was like, well,
I
now
know.
you're kind of proving her point that she's not 100% trusting you with her daughter, because you seem to not realize that your son is a person and he's responsible for his actions, and Joss took responsibility for hers, and there was a story behind why she did what she did. And maybe you need to find out Cameron's story, but she's still in this weird bubble that somehow Joss or somebody else is making him do all these things.
I know, because Cam is such a good kid and she never has to worry about Cam. Remember she was saying that
Yeah,
like a while back, and that she doesn't have to worry about him, and maybe she should check in on him. So
but
she
she
thinks,
didn't since
that's
then.
all exactly. And that's the thing. Like, you can punish him, but did you actually really talk to him? Did you actually really find out what happened? No, you did not. You did nothing about it. Like, it's just a really kind of funny situation that she's in right now, especially with questioning her parenting skills.
Well, I mean, she has a connection with Cam that's interesting, because even at the hospital when she found out about the stealing, she was upset. No, she didn't really inquire too much about his perspective, but she does have an affectionate relationship. Like, they hugged, and the same thing. Like, Cam comes, says, "Mom, I love you." So I mean, it's like a lot of teenage relationships, I guess, in the sense that there's some communication, there's affection, and Carly just has a different relationship with her kids. Like, I think it speaks to Carly's character as a whole. Before having kids, she's always been a little invasive, but it benefits her as a parent to be
Oh,
that way.
100%. Exactly. And but I think it's like, it is very vastly different styles of parenting, but I like the fact that she owned it. I like the fact that she went over and had that open and honest conversation, because the reality is you can't keep them apart. You can't disapprove. It's going to make things worse. So you can support them, but you also need to know that other parent is going to show your kid that level of, you have that trust and respect and
Yeah.
understanding, so that if they are at Elizabeth's house, that she is in a safe environment.
Yeah, and I totally see why Carly would think that. And honestly, I just think it's so cool that we can see how different their personalities are, which is very obvious between Carly and Elizabeth.
Oh my
But I
God.
think it's
Yeah.
so cool that we're watching this show where their parenting style and their relationship with their kids is that we can see it. I don't know. I just think it's really cool because you don't have a lot
Oh
of
my God.
shows
I guess
like
because,
this
like,
that go on for so long where we can see all of these things. Anyways.
well, and plus we're parents now. So I think we're also
Yeah.
looking at it differently. Like, we're looking at it through, like, oh my God, if this happened to me, what kind of parent would I like? What side would I be taking? What are, like, I know we both absolutely love Carly's way of parenting and the way that she approaches things and discusses things with Joss. So I'm always watching her closely and
Yeah.
closer, and and picking on the other person's stuff, because I agree mostly with Carly.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. Like, I have mentally taken down notes of how she's handled things. I mean, I don't know how great that is. I take my parenting advice from a soap opera, but yeah, that pretty much is what's happening. So this is something. Okay, this is just like a last thing on the whole situation here. So remember how we talked? I think it was last week when she did that. When Elizabeth did that insane thing when she went over to Sam's, and we
Oh my
talked
God.
about how Elizabeth always saw like Carly, Sam, Jason, all of them as sort of this inner circle that she's on the outs of. I'm just wondering, what would she do if Cam and Joss really developed a relationship and he becomes part of an inner circle that she's been struggling to be a part of for like a long time?
Oh my God. That is a really super interesting angle to take, because okay, is she gonna because she can go both ways. She can be like, kind of like an Ava, and be angry at her son and that situation, or she can take it as her in and
But I
push
don't,
the relationship further.
to be honest, I
Do you
don't
know what I
even.
mean? So, like, to be at the dinners or the events or whatever.
But you know what? I don't think she'll be invited. Like, that's the thing. Like, there was a there, and I mean that because it's a different world. This is his girlfriend family, and it's the same thing. Like when TJ had lived with Sunny for a while, so his mom's the
Right.
commissioner. It didn't really push his relationship with Jordan forward. There was respect. He took care of her son, But I mean, her son had a relationship with a known mobster that was not at all the relationship she had with Sonny. It was very separate. So I think that
That's a
if
good
Cam
point.
makes it in, it's going to be like that. It's going to be very separate. She will be on the outs of it. I think it'd be more fun that way for me, anyways.
I think it would be too, just to explore how she handles it. Because if she's willing to go and talk to Sam about something like that, how she can approach certain situations when it comes to Cam and Joss and their lives and all of that. So it would just kind of like change the way she does things.
Yeah, I would really want to see that. And I'm kind of looking forward to Joss and Cam building their relationship. Although who knows how everything is going to go in the sense time-wise, just because like we're under the impression that Oscar doesn't have much time, so I feel like everything will be speeded up in some shape or form. But Carly was everywhere this week. So she was all up in Elizabeth's business. And then she has this other separate storyline with Laura. So we
Oh,
had been talking with the whole Ryan thing. Like, how would you piece this together? Like, if you think that Ryan is dead, how on
oh.
earth would, because, like, I mean, anybody can notice that Kevin is acting off. But why he's acting off? Like, how would you come to this conclusion that his dead twin was alive? Anyways, so so when Carly had that dream, I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh my God, it was so freaky. It was
Hmm.
so freaky, so disturbing.
So I was just kind of shocked. I'm like, oh my gosh, I did not see that coming. So, you know, I mean, it wasn't for nothing because we know that at the end of the day, Carly was the only and first person to get these clues that something cryptic was going on. And then as the Ryan storyline was going, you're thinking, well, how is this going to go? It's almost like wasted knowledge that Carly has. But now it
Yeah.
seems to kind of be coming together because she has knowledge that, you know, paired with Laura's can really mean something.
I really loved that tie-in. That tie-in was excellent. Like, the fact that they're going to Ferncliff, like, I am, how do you say, it? Like, I'm losing my words here, but they're both strong, intelligent women and staples in the soap opera.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're partnering up for this incredible cause, for something that Carly experienced and Laura wants to run with, I completely love that dynamic together because they're not always kind of placed in the same situation, but them
No.
together as two strong women who are working together, I love it.
I thought it was so cool because we saw the idea develop where Carly were looking at her wanting to become an advocate, and you're thinking, how is she going to do this? She had no clue, and I honestly I didn't even put it together immediately when she started with Laura. Like when she's like, "Hey, how are you?" and she bumps into her at the Metro Court, and then when she tells her, it was like, "Oh, interesting." You know, like Laura wants to run, and like her platform being mental health. So I thought that whole idea as a whole was really really cool. And today when
Yeah.
they went to Ferncliff. Oh man, was it not creepy seeing Mary Pat again? Did that not scare you?
She's the creepiest person, but here's the thing that I think may happen is that she got fired and then she's going to go and find Kevin and the outside and they're going to be in cahoots.
That's so
I'm sorry.
creepy.
I know
But
you're in the car. I
I
know,
know
I
I
know.
wasn't even gonna say that I say it this week, but yeah, I'm in the car. But like, cause you're saying her name, and I'm just seeing her, and like the clips are showing of Kevin is just getting creepier and creepier, and them two together. Ooh, ooh, cause he might need a minion. You're right. He might need a minion to help him get away with whatever he wants to do. And the scenes with him were really creepy. Like, were you not caught off guard, or did you not scream at your TV when they showed that scene that he stabs Laura?
Oh my God. I was so freaked out. I'm like, is this really happening? Is this really happening? Oh my God. I thought she signed her contract and she's staying on the show longer. Like,
And Johnny wasn't helping. He's like, I guess they're killing her off. And I'm like, would you shut up? Like, just give it a sec.
yeah, that was a really freaky scene, especially
And
like when they continued it and Elizabeth opens the door and then she screams. I was like,
and then he's like, it's not what it looks like. I'm like, it isn't. Like, did she do it to
what did it?
herself? Like, what explanation do you have? Oh my gosh, like it was creepy, you know, her finding the notepad. And I mean, I don't even know how she goes home at night with him being so not her husband.
Weird. He's
Well, he's
so weird.
I mean, I feel like you've seen enough to be like, I don't know. I don't know about this. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I'm really scared. I'm really scared for Laura. I really am.
Okay, I'm gonna say something kind of silly here right now, but enough to
Okay.
stop trying to have sex with him. Like, it's enough
Oh,
already. He doesn't want to. He's creepy. Stop.
yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Stay in the other room that you're staying in. I don't really care, work late, but you're right. At some point when someone is acting that creepy, you may want to, I don't know, like I guess it might take a lot for her to no longer be interested.
Like, turn it off. Turn it off just for a little bit till you figure this out.
I know, I know. So I mean, now that like we've started to see like Carly and Laura come together, I think we're getting a glimpse of maybe how this will sort of come out. And there's some other people that kind of believe in Laura and Carly being the ones to kind of blow the lid off of the whole situation. So we have Sandy FIG 53 who kind of feels this way, and also Gina Delesi. Oh my god, this is so terrible. 5419. But their names on Instagram, and they kind of believe that these two have got what it takes to take Ryan down.
I think they really do. I think they're gonna have like a little, you know how Franco helped out Jason with Carly and Franklin?
Yeah.
I think he's gonna have like a secondary role in helping, especially I know I'm jumping a little bit, but his scene with
No,
Ava was talking about therapy. Like I think he's like, why is this like his radars are definitely up, and I think in some way I feel like he's gonna be involved.
I completely agree. It would make sense because he has enough information him as well to kind of pinpoint the fact that Kevin has been really, really off. So yeah, I do think you're right on that front that Franco might be involved. And was it not hilarious with him and Ava? Because I love how he just calls her on her crap. And she was just like, he's telling me to just stop apologizing for being who I am. And he's like, when were you walking around
I
apologizing
know.
to anybody?
I was killing myself laughing. He said that, and then he said something else, and I forget right now. But he
Oh,
just
he
did
did.
about like Kiki or the whole like I don't know. Like he had this like whole slew of things that he said. I just couldn't stop laughing,
Like
but I think I did some of it.
he didn't want her to burn down Kiki. Was it
Yes,
that
yes,
it?
yes, yes, yes.
Oh my gosh, little does he know. Oh my god. Okay, I'm sorry. Was it not hilarious? Okay, my favorite Ava scene this week. So when Griffin and Kiki bump into her and she like confronts them with the invader page, I'm like, it's kind of a little pathetic how you keep walking up to them, but whatever. And then Kiki gets called away. I was dying when she kind of like walks away from her mother. And then you have Ava in the background trying to follow them and making like the most awkward faces. I couldn't stop laughing. Like I had to rewind that a couple times because her awkwardly and pathetically trying to chase down Kiki and Griffin just, I'm sorry, it was hilarious.
Yeah, she's a bit much. She's a little excessive. And then when she finds that perfect opportunity to sit down with Sasha, who I very much do not like.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem right there.
OMG, like I'm so like all I kept thinking was, for the love of God, can anybody in Kiki's family be normal? So she has this half sister who's gonna try to steal Griffin. She has a mother who's trying to kill her. She has an uncle who she kind of doesn't really talk to. She has a dad who she loved who passed away. Like, oh my God, can she have like okay, so she has her little sister. Thank goodness. Thank
Yeah.
goodness for her who she loves so very much. But the fact that this Sasha character can come in and already have these like awful intentions, and you can see it in her eyes that she's just there for trouble.
Yeah, and she also explicitly said, "I'm looking to get into a little trouble." There's
Very
that too.
valid point. Very valid.
So she said it.
I'm
But
not just being too here.
okay. So I mean, all of a sudden 180. I mean, look, we don't know Sasha's character, but like Valentine, a man is able to sway her. She's interested in Griffin. I don't know what to think about her or what her plans are because she obviously seems very interested in Griffin, but then she also seemed genuinely happy to see Ava and taken aback by Ava's behavior. So
True.
then you're kind of like, are you, I mean, I know no one is ever good or bad, but you're like, I can't tell because sometimes you seem genuine and others no. But clearly this girl has got like a dark part of her. I like
Okay.
how because you pointed it out, the family is so messed up that she's come into that every time she asks the question, even as a viewer, you're kind of like, oh, that's a long, that's a complicated issue. It's like when she asked, so why did you guys split up? When she asked Nina that, and I was like, oh, that's such a complicated answer because it kind of has to do with you and a baby swap and all this crap. And so it's really funny whenever she tries to ask anything. I liked Nina's little interaction with Valentine where she was so excited. She could totally see through his invitation to have a family dinner, but
Yeah, it was so
she was so
cute.
happy.
She was happy and they definitely glow. They have lots of chemistry
Oh,
and
yeah.
I love that whole interaction. But just going back to the whole family crazy
Yeah.
madness, I don't want to skip over the fact of Maxie's interaction and her just
Yeah.
spewing out all of the family's secrets and then directly asking her if she has any mental health issues to Sasha.
I know. So I have a question about that. Yeah, it was funny, but part of me was like, was she trying to push Sasha away? I don't know.
I think it was a little bit of both. I think it's like I think she's super protective over Nina because she knows
Okay.
what Nina has gone through and how much she has wanted this relationship with her daughter. But Maxie's bearing in mind, and she's very intuitive herself that like there's this new person. We don't know who she is. We don't know what her intentions are, and she keeps extending her stay. And but she wanted to leave, and Valentine convinced her. Like she's a very much a question mark, and I think Maxie's just doing her due diligence and just trying to protect Nina, but at the same time trying to push her buttons and ask questions and see if anything comes of it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because you could definitely sense a little bit of that. Like she's being protective and there's this new person and I don't know, like I was just because I don't know if you've noticed. So in that scene where she's doing that and she's saying that to Sasha, in the background you have Peter's head. And later on, you have Nina suggesting that if she didn't want to work at Crimson, that she could work at the Invader. So my question is this: yes, she
Uh,
seems to have Griffin's butt imprinted in her mind, but I'm
yeah.
wondering if she gets a job at the Invader, will she get to Peter before Maxie?
I can completely see that happening. And that's where the question mark lies. Like, it's like all these guys within her age range. And she's
Hmm.
like, obviously, man crazy. But even the way she looks at Valentine I was like a little like, oh, your ex is here. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Take your eyes off
Okay.
Valentine there, Missy.
So I'm not crazy because that's what I said. I
No.
because I didn't know how to articulate it, but I was saying that earlier that like she was swayed by a man and she's like interested in Griffin, and I was just like, okay, what's up with that? But yeah, she's a little man crazy. I think is what it appears to be, and I mean maybe Ava's trying to play into that, but who knows? Maybe Ava's completely mistaken. Yeah, Sasha thinks Griffin is hot, but maybe she thinks a lot of men are hot. And maybe her plan won't really work. Whoever's
Exactly.
closest, and maybe if Peter is closer in proximity, she'll be like, "Let's do this."
Exactly. And that's what I'm thinking too, honestly. Like, I think that Ava, like, she got her little scene and she was all like super happy when she got to the hospital. I don't necessarily think that that is the primary direction. Like, I think there's a lot of openings here, and it
Mhm.
is really going to depend on what Sasha decides to do.
You know what? That may, I don't know what this would mean, but let's just say, Ava thinks she has revenge coming that she would not be responsible for. And what if it doesn't come? What if the relationship with Kiki and Griffin continues to flourish? What will happen to her anger and what's she going to do with it?
Oh, okay. So I know we talked about this a little bit last weekend, and it's all theory and all that, but that's where maybe she increases her therapy sessions and starts discussing things with quote unquote Kevin some more. And that's where the whole like Kevin wanting, and he's obviously enthralled with her and he
Yeah.
wants to win her over. So that might be that little opening for something bad to happen.
I mean, look, I'm all for something bad happening, but I really do hope that, like, I don't know what's gonna happen to Kiki's character, but I would love it if she was recast so we can kind of continue this story because I think it's nice. I think it's cool for Ava to have this mirror, this person who reflects basically everything awful about her. I think it's kind of cool to have this nemesis and that nemesis being her daughter. I think it's really interesting. And I would hate to kind of lose that if she actually dies. I hope she doesn't die.
No, me too. I hope that, she gets recast and all that stuff. But also if we play Sasha with Peter, now does that leave an opening for Maxie and Michael?
That's what I'm kind of thinking. Because look, just because, okay, because we saw, we literally saw her stand in front of Peter and in front of Michael, and they might be for her, but at different times. So who knows who's sort of the ultimate for her? But I can kind of see a meaningly future with either one of them.
That is a very good point, like different points in time that those two men will still have influence in her life. I like that.
Yeah, it's just that with Michael, I think they would be amazing. Like I said, they're like the Carly and Jason that never were. But I don't know. I wonder how Spinelli's gonna feel about it. I think he'll be gracious because Michael,
Oh,
he likes Michael. But I mean, Maxie is his everything. Yes, he's moved on and all, but it's a bit, it's a bit weird.
It's intense. It's a little intense to handle, but I think Spinelli, I mean, he has I think all he wants for her is happiness and to be treated fairly. I mean, even when she was with Nathan, I know it's Michael, but when she was with Nathan, it was, he knew that she would be okay and that she would have a nice life and they can still be
Mhm.
friends. And it's going to be weird at first, but I think he'll get over it. He's so into Sam and Jason anyways that he might not even
Yeah.
notice.
Oh my God, those two. Okay, so before we get into those two, there's a
Yes.
really, really funny Instagram thing about Sasha. She was just like, right though, Sasha's gonna end up in a hole somewhere. Then women in Port Charles are vicious. Just I don't know. It made me laugh so much. But part of me starts to think, Sasha is a new character. Will she end up in a ditch somewhere? Is she gonna be a long-standing character just because Nina happens to be? So that'll be interesting to see what happens with her. And I mean, we're definitely not alone with questioning Maxie's endgame with Peter. There was Carol, Carolyn McKenzie also feels that Peter isn't her man. There's Stargazing 82966 who thinks that Maxie and Michael should definitely get together and that they would be a really good match. And even Maria Mendina Barreto thinks that Michael and Maxie are a yes. So there's other people who are kind of seeing it too.
Which is like yeah, I can't wait to see just what's gonna happen really.
So, okay. Did you find it odd? So we saw a hint of this last week. Oh, wait a minute. Before we move on from Sasha, are we thinking she's still Nina's daughter?
No.
Yeah, I still don't think she's her daughter.
I'm still not convinced. I'm sorry. Nina is just, she's so kind and loving and sweet. And you see how, like, you see Nina's demeanor as to how she approaches Sasha in the situation and Valentine. And then you see Sasha's twinkle of evil. And then you see Kiki sit down with her. And she just has that same way of being as Nina. Even though Valentine's like, oh, I can see you and Sasha, whatever. I don't see it at all. I see more Nina in Kiki than I do in Sasha.
Yeah, it's so funny because because Sasha is nice, she's polite, she's sort of saying and doing all the right things, but the moment she sits down with Kiki, you sort of see this good and bad, even though she's
Yes.
not really, in an
Oh,
obvious way.
okay, so
What?
like the good and bad. No, no, because you're saying the good and bad, but it's like it's soap opera style in terms of like
Yeah,
Kiki's good, the blonde hair, the doe
yeah.
eyes, and then Sasha's like the dark hair, the like man stealer. Like she's like
I know that should have given it away the moment she walked in with her dark hair.
in a sea of blondes, kind of.
Mhm. There really is a sea of blondes there. Okay, so did you notice? Okay, so all of this is happening in the Metro Court. You got like a lot of Nina Sasha happening, but then once again, Peter and Valentine. Is it just me? Are they competing over who's a better man?
I
Like,
think they
and
are
who's
just
and
kind of
who's
for
getting
fun
their lady
stuff.
back?
Yeah.
I was just like, what is that?
It's so strange, they're trying to see who's the better man and then just kind of like who's rekindling the relationships and who's being forgiven by who. It's just kind of a whole funny slash weird situation.
Yeah, it's cute. It's cute. I don't mind their little face off.
Okay, but wait,
Um,
wait. Before we leave the whole Nina situation, there's one more.
what?
I know it. Okay, so Nina's interaction with Ava. When Nina says, "This is my daughter Sasha," sounds like very much at the beginning of the week. Like, I don't know if it's like Monday or Tuesday or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Nina's like, "Oh, this is my daughter Sasha." But the look on Ava's face when she said that was so weird. She had like a smirk. Did you
I
notice?
But I feel like the reaction should be bigger. Like, if Nina has a revelation that she has a daughter, isn't that bigger news? Shouldn't there be a larger reaction to how is this possible?
But that's exactly it. She had no real huge reaction, and
Hmm.
she smirked like, "Yeah, you think that's your daughter?" Like, I don't know. I was just like, "What does that mean?" It just really kind of caught me her reaction or her lack thereof, and then smirk or like weirdness that she does in her face.
Well, I'm gonna take that and put it in the box of Kiki's not her daughter, and that she's like, you don't have a daughter because I have her.
Well, yeah, and I guess maybe too, I'm like looking for all these things to make Kiki her daughter. So like when I saw
I
that scene,
am.
it really like pushed me in that direction. Anyways, let's get back to the highlights of the week.
Okay, so actually, before we do, well, it kind of all goes together, but Christina, real quick.
Stole the freaking show this week.
She's so funny. The way she handled the DA.
I loved it. I loved it because she's so her dad. Like it was just so perfect.
She is, right? The future mob boss of Port Charles. I think
Still
so. That's
hoping.
the future I want for Christine. I don't think Alexis would agree. But I love also like how she just doesn't care. Like she didn't know who she was, but she's in front of a customer. She's like, I'm hungover. I'm taking these pills. What do you want?
It's awesome.
I like Margot. I mean, the actress does an amazing job. And we say that. Like, if I hate you this much, like, you are just doing a really good job of evoking all of these emotions from us. And even like later on in that scene with Christina, like, even when Sunny leaves and they have this like amazing father daughter moment, but even when she leaves
No.
and the DA kind of waves at Christina again, the
Loved it.
dirty look that she gives Christina. I mean, she just did it so well that I'm just like, wow. But it's like, what do you think? You keep coming around and lurking and trying to talk to all these people connected to Sunny. Like, no one's gonna like you. Like, it's annoying. But she plays annoying like super super well.
I know she really does. She does a great job of doing that. But like, I I like Christina's reaction to everything too, and just how she immediately, like her dad explained what was going on. And she's like, "Okay, I'm on board with this. Like, you don't even have to like pursue this any further. I have my eye on her."
But they have such a mutual understanding that she just doesn't have with her mom. Like
Yeah, it's so sweet.
it is. I love seeing it. I love seeing the way Sunny supports her. I love that he can still express what he doesn't like, but she can hear it. And they just kind of agree to disagree. And I think that he knows who she is. And I think he does know that she's similar. And he just kind of accepts that reality and treats her with that knowledge.
Yeah, like I love like that was one of like I think my second favorite thing about Christina. My other favorite Christina scene this week was when Jason brought her home when she was drunk.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That was so funny. It's so nice to have these comedic moments. But like I said, with Jason coming back, seeing the way he is so different and seeing him laugh, because how can you not laugh and react to such an awkward statement of being called a grade A hunk?
Oh my God, I was dying laughing. And then she was singing about them having sex. Like when she was singing it out, I was dying. And then she's like, grab happy with two hands. I was dying.
Oh my gosh. It was, but like, it's getting a little ridiculous, them not being together. It just
I
is.
know.
But then somebody on Instagram pointed out that, so OT Blogger pointed out they're waiting for November sweeps. And I was like, oh, all right. Yeah, that makes
Oh,
sense.
that's
That
a
totally,
very, very
yeah,
valid
that makes
point.
sense. But man, Christina being drunk was hilarious. But I was just like, that is a really big bottle that you took to the park with
I
you.
know.
Just like, and like broad daylight. I'm like, all right. And I don't know how Jason found her, but whatever. Everybody seems to be moseying on through that park during the week. But
But
yeah, that whole thing with her was
Also,
funny.
Jason's also very magical and knows where people are and when they need help, like a little
Yeah,
superhero.
he's got
So
spidey
yeah, I think it's
senses.
really yeah. So I think it's really fun. Like it was like, of course, he's the one that finds her. Like, of course.
And okay, so what did you think? Was it not? I mean, I love it. Like we were talking about Laura and Carly, like putting people together that we don't normally see team up for a storyline. So when they showed a scene featuring Oscar, Daisy, and Christina, I was like, this is a really interesting trio.
They're the misfits.
Yeah, I just keep wanting to sing the Gem song
I
whenever I hear
know.
that. I'm not gonna sing on this. But when I see them together, I'm like, okay, so Daisy lives in a commune and she's trying to get Oscar to live
Feel
with
like
her. But
she's trying to get him to join a cult.
I
And
don't
he's
know. I will reserve judgment until I see what this place
okay,
is.
fine, fine.
But I'm so curious because I don't know. There seems to be something between Daisy and Christina, but then I wondered, what about Oscar and Christina? Like, even if it's a friendship,
Well, okay.
I'm just wondering, he's going through a hard time. They're working together, and I love seeing the actors sort of integrate themselves and have more interactions with people. So I'm just so curious as to where
Uh,
this trio is going to go. What kind of a bond will they have? Will she be bonding with Oscar? Will she be the one to get Oscar through this whole thing and not Joss in the
Huh.
end? What's going
That
to
is a
happen?
very, very interesting point because I was like, okay, you put Christine and Oscar together. They're both kind of lost. They're both being affected by one person, Alexis, because he's gonna only have positive things to say about her. She's only
Yeah.
gonna have negative things to say or thoughts, even if she doesn't say them out loud. He sees her as a fixed grown up, with the jaw,
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
like, which I
When you
think
have
is
it all.
so cute,
Yeah.
right? In terms of like perspective. And she's just like, okay. So I think, yeah, I will be a very, very interesting and cute interaction because he has such a vastly different view of her than she does of herself.
Yeah,
And,
I just
and
love.
maybe,
Hmm.
sorry, no, I was just gonna say the last thing, like maybe in her kind of quote unquote mentoring him, she'll build her confidence and kind of figure out her plan.
I love that. I really do. I just thought it was so cute when Oscar realized that things cost money in life.
I know. I'm like, oh my god, you're so funny.
And it was just sweet because, I think, no, Christina may not have it together, but I think she just doesn't realize. But you have more experience of being a grown up than he does. And so
Exactly.
you're halfway there. But I just loved it when he's like, you're so together. And she's like, okay, I live with my sister and her two kids, but whatever. But yeah, no, I just love that. And I thought the scene with all three of them was quite interesting. And I was like, well, this is, I'm really excited to see where it goes. And I'm really hoping we get to see more interactions with them. Daisy started on GH, and I'm hoping we get to see more of her because otherwise, why is she there?
Exactly. I'm very curious to see how she's going to be weaved into all of this and what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
lady, what's next? What's next? It's
So,
the big one.
okay,
The big one
I,
next.
look. I'll give you a minute on this, but I really want to get into more of like Jason, Sam, Spinelli, all of that stuff. But
Yes.
I'll give you a
Okay.
minute. They gave a little bit of Finn and Anna. Anything?
Oh, they're just so cute and I love him. And did you see his arm tattoo? Like, I don't know. I was just like, okay. Here.
Okay, is the minute I gave it to you. I love them too, but I was like, all right, a cute little love that we got today. All right, nothing else. Like there was nothing other than just them in
I
bed
know.
together being I miss you, and I'm like, okay, cool. Mel's gonna love that.
I did. I very
One
much did.
person's gonna love
Okay.
that.
We can move on now.
Okay, so more on Jason and Sam. So we get a lot of the ridiculousness of you should be together. Did you not love? I love seeing Spinelli, like the
Oh,
way they introed Spinelli.
yes.
It was so cool, especially having listened to their podcast, The Stone Cold and Jackal. It's just a whole nother layer when you see them together because we know that in real life they totally appreciate their job in these scenes. So it's so cool.
It really is. It really like elevates all of the excitement. Like when I saw him, I was like so it was like seeing an old friend. I was like, oh my God, there he is.
Yeah, I love seeing him on the show because he's always like on the phone or in the background. Okay, so I love how they're like getting together. They're trying to like go through this whole case, but Sam going off on him, being like, "Our relationship is our relationship." I'm so kind of like I
Ugh,
feel like
I
it's
know.
so awkward that you keep talking about your non-relationship in front of Jason all the time. Like he knows about the cold showers. Like we don't need to keep talking about it. We're just waiting for Sam to give the go ahead. But then they're trying to discuss the case and then she brings up, well, what if she was in love with two women? I'm like,
I know.
please
I was like,
don't.
is this really happening? Is she
I'm like,
really seriously
no.
trying to interject her messed up life into the situation in front of
I
Jason?
She could have said it in a more factual way, less emotional way, because just like
Yes.
last week where I was like, you're saying things that you shouldn't say out loud. This is between
So
you and your
true.
mirror. You and your mirror. Stop
So true.
saying these awkward things. And I'm just like, if you want Spinelli and everyone else to stay out of your relationship, stop talking about it out loud to them.
Oh my
Like, you
God. It was
can't tell
so
Spinelli to stay out of
funny.
it. And then you're like, my love for Jason and I love two men and insurance and blah blah. And I'm just like, okay, this is ridiculous.
Is.
And then when Sunny came in, I'm like, you're all here.
My heart was so happy and fluttering with
Oh
joy.
yeah. Oh yeah. Are we forgetting any other Sam and Jason and Sunny and Spinelli moments?
Well, there's like the big last Friday happenings where they like, Spinelli and Sam dressed
Yeah.
up cute little get-ups go in. That woman is a very tall woman and Sam is a very tiny woman.
Oh,
That
she's so itty bitty. Yeah, okay. So they go to Margot's mom's place. So what do you think about the visit? Because they're asking questions and I feel
so
like they
awkward.
already have a suspicion. Margot's mom is answering in a way that highlights that she knows more than she's alluding to. But now I'm like feeling like, okay, I don't have enough information. What were the letters that you took?
Okay, so the letters, if I understood it correctly, they're the letters of her the guy she had an affair with. Those were the
She
letters
kept
to her.
those?
And did you notice, like, it was so weird because they were in a blue ribbon, whereas like Margot's letters to her dad were like in a pink ribbon or whatever. I thought it was so cheesy.
Well,
I don't know if
yeah.
there's any relation there in terms of like, so those letters, like I was having a heart attack when she was like trying to get the drawer open, and like, of course, it's in the drawer in the front of the house. That's where she would keep all her important documents, especially the letters from her lover who killed her husband. Of course.
Okay, the word lover now. Okay.
Uh,
Totally fine in this context because we're talking about other people. I don't remember if this was last week or this week, but do you remember Kim was whining, and I didn't get a chance to bring it up, but
oh yeah.
that Kim was like, and I'm a terrible mom, I'm a terrible friend, I'm a terrible lover, and I was like,
Why are you
people
saying
say that? Like that's a title you can have. Anyways,
yeah.
and then you said
I
it now.
used to
I'm
call
sorry. I'm
Brandon.
sorry.
I used to call Brandon that up until we used to call each other that just as a joke like years
Up
ago.
until you were out in public, like, because that's fine, but she was in
Yeah,
public and she said
I
that.
know. I thought it was pretty funny though when she said it. I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
Like
I
you're
kind of cringed at the TV. I'm like, that's a thing. But anyways, okay. So yes, Margot's lover, because I wasn't sure because I couldn't see anything. Obviously, I was like, okay. First of all, I thought it was awkward that Spinelli went with her when she's like, come with me to get water. I'm like, don't people typically go get the water and bring it back? But whatever. Um, and yeah, I was totally stressing. I'm like, yeah, of
yeah.
course she has this much time to like wiggle in this drawer, like go through all her papers and find something meaningful. But yeah, I was confused because when she grabbed the letters, that's the thing. The only thing I can think of was when Margot had her letters she wrote to her dad. So I was like, what are these letters? Like I thought maybe Scully, because I'm thinking this woman is not writing letters to her dead husband.
Right. So like I think it's like Scully's letters to her. But like the best part of all of that was that they leave the house, they stand in front of her door, discuss everything that happened, and open the briefcase. I'm like, are you friggin' kidding me?
They opened the briefcase again?
He's like, what did you get as evidence? And she opens the
Oh, you know
briefcase.
why I didn't see that? At like 50, like at the end of the episode, we got
Yeah.
preempted.
No. Okay, so like at the very end when they're leaving, when they like leave, they stand on her porch. She has like a glass door. So there's
No, yes, she does. I remember from when they went in, I was like, that's really, we can see in your house. But anyways.
and they stand there and he's like, so did you find anything? And she's like, yes, I found these letters. And that's why you don't know it's Scully. So she says that like it's the letters from him. Or no, she says like it's addressed to certain, I kind of assumed, or she may have said, I'm not entirely sure, but they're having this whole discussion and looking at the letters on the porch.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. Okay, so that's why you were like, it was Scully. So I'm like, what information was there?
Yeah.
And it was just a few minutes towards the ending that we got preempted. So I'm like, I don't know if I'm missing anything. And I totally forgot to ask you. That is so crazy. I would have been screaming
I
at the
know.
TV, like, go to your car, go to your
Right?
car. I'm
Like
in my
walk
car.
faster. Come on, man. Yeah, that was hilarious, and that's kind of the way it ended. So it's pretty funny. It
Oh,
was a really interesting, exciting week. I have to admit, a lot of favorite scenes, a lot
a
of favorite
lot
moments.
of funnies. A lot of funnies. I
Yes.
think I laughed a lot this week.
Yeah, I did too. It was great. I love that they're doing that.
Yeah, I think I give it up for Christina. I think she probably gave the most laughs for me this week.
Yeah, my favorite. Yeah, my favorite funny. Definitely Christina for this week.
Yeah. So I think we got through it all. That's crazy. It feels like I've been talking for like 2 seconds.
I
I wonder
know.
if people
That's
listening think that.
so
Alrighty. So that was fun. Have a good night, and we do this next week. Next week is episode 10, 1-0.
oh
That's a
my
big deal.
gosh, double digits, dude. Big deal.
We're so committed. This is nice. I don't think I've ever committed to anything this long.
Okay, chat for another time. Well, have a good night.
You too. Okay.
Talk to you
Take
soon.
care.
Bye.
Bye.